The gardens here at Road Hall are renowned for their snowdrops, and you can see why. They're absolutely glorious. It's a really relaxing place to sit. But back in 1984, Liverpool's International Garden Festival opened for a different reason, to help regenerate the city. It lasted for 6 months and was a real success. But ever since, the site has become derelict and vandalised. Well, now there's fresh hope that after 26 years, it will reopen to the public. It stretched over 200 acres, rolling reclaimed land that sprang to life in the fiery summer of 1984. In just 5 months, over 3 million people poured through the gates, as Liverpool became home to the country's first international garden festival. Designers from around the world laid colourful flower beds, planted small forests, built exotic structures and tapped into the city's music roots. Even Mrs. Thatcher got a ticket to ride. But when the exhibition came to an end, so did the hopes of a legacy for the city. A quarter of a century later, vandals and nature have combined to undo the careful grooming. And now the site is overgrown, difficult to navigate and downright dangerous in places. Within a year though, this could once again be open parkland, as a developer starts work on restoring the land and creating 1,400 homes. It's history repeating itself, and breathing new life into a derelict area is where it all began. Following the 1981 Toxteth riots, Mrs. Thatcher dispatched Environment Secretary Michael Heseltine as a troubleshooter to the city, where he stayed for 3 weeks. His mission was to regenerate Liverpool, and he came up with the idea of the Garden Festival.
There was quite a lot of resistance to the Garden Festival idea. I mean, I can remember people shouting at me on the streets, "Give us jobs, not trees."
Well, I don't really feel that man can live under flowers, or flowers can cover the people from the winter or feed them.
It's not for Liverpool, it's not for the heart of Liverpool, it's not for us. I think it's a waste.
The site chosen by Heseltine was known as the Cast Iron Shore. For 30 years, it had been used as a corporation rubbish dump. 3 million tonnes of silt and sand was excavated, and the methane gas produced by the buried rubbish was closely monitored. Service roads were created through a quagmire of mud, as builders erected a large dome, the festival hall. 250,000 trees and shrubs and 500,000 bulbs were planted. 2 years after the work started, the scheme was ready to be opened by the Queen.
I think that after the festival is gone, there will be very considerable numbers of houses built here, very large numbers of jobs attracted on the industrial sites here, but I think a very large part of it will be kept for the people of Merseyside and Liverpool, and I think they'll vastly appreciate it.
Now 76 and out of politics for nearly a decade, Lord Heseltine still keeps tabs on his garden project and says it's upsetting to him personally that chances were missed.
From the early 80s on, this site has gone down and downhill, and I have to say it's not been my problem, but I've become more and more saddened because the opportunity to develop it was never taken. And the whole point of it was to create the new jobs, the new investment, the new environment in the city of Liverpool.
Liverpool City Council deny they've been slow to seize chances. It's only now, they say, that a solution is possible for everyone concerned.
It was a lot of blue sky thinking. There wasn't really, an opportunity to reach in to the communities that live there and say, what can we deliver that's acceptable to you, but also is going to have a long-term aim to tag on to the vision of the city.
The festival created such an impact. People liked it so much. They felt we don't need to change this. But of course the truth is that if they didn't change it, then it would have no purpose and it would go downhill. Well, let's be grateful that something's being done now.
This is the vision for the future. Backed by a £3.7 million investment by the North West Development Agency, it's the creation of a riverside park with high-rise apartments. The architect is Peter Swift, a fluent Japanese speaker who gleaned his knowledge of garden design in Kyoto. Probably difficult to picture it now, Peter, but originally this was the Japanese garden.
It was. I mean, this was one of the two kind of, wow centerpieces of the Garden Festival. It was gifted to the city of Liverpool by the Japanese government, and it was put together by, guys who are top of their craft. Generation after generation of garden designer and constructor in Japan, came over here and built this. This is as good a Japanese garden as you'll find anywhere outside Japan, or at least it was. So, Andy, what you can see here is the original plaque of the plan of the Japanese garden.
Survived well, hasn't it?
Absolutely fantastically intact, set into this gigantic block of granite. And you see this beautiful water feature. Well, you can't see any of that at the moment. You've got a 5-tiered waterfall. Everything's there, all the pumps are still intact, all the structure, all the waterproofing, everything's kind of, below all the brambles and the vegetation. So we will be revealing that, bringing it back into use.
When it's finished, the park will become the responsibility of the Land Restoration Trust, a not-for-profit organisation set up by the Environment Agency and Forestry Commission. Opposition to various plans have gradually diminished over the years, and the new developers have consulted local people. One worry still exists though, and that's the methane gas which lies beneath the ground. David Jones remembers the site when it was a rubbish tip.
There's still methane coming off. There's a little man in a van goes down Riverside Drive every Monday morning and he lifts little manholes and takes readings, and that's been going on for years. There was a small power station being run off it until relatively recently with all the methane coming off.
So how would you like to see the site developed?
It'll never be developed the way I want it. I want it basically remove the fences, turn it into a truly public open space.
The developers, Langtree of Newton-le-Willows, specialise in regenerating land which has been abandoned or used by industry.
The site offers great potential, and we're very confident it's got a long-term future as a site, a residential site with the gardens attached to it.
How safe is this site? Because there have been concerns about gases underground.
Well, it's a brownfield site. Government policy is very much to develop on brownfield sites where developments have to deal with contamination or gas generation, etc., and this site's no different. There is an engineering solution to it which we will employ to make this site safe for residential homes.
Walking round this site, you never know quite what you're going to find. Hidden away in the trees and the undergrowth and the broken glass, we've discovered this. This was the centrepiece of the old Blue Peter garden from the festival site. And way back in 1984, it was a top attraction with the kids. And for the first time in a generation, children may still get the chance to play here again.